Whenever you're
Okay.
ready to go.
Excellent. Excellent. We're recording. Excellent. Well, as I said, I'm so delighted to welcome Nikki to present with us today on how to build a binge-worthy brand. Nikki is a brand design and strategy expert and is well recognized in the field for the amazing work that she does. We are going to hear incredible insight from her today, and she's making some really generous offers to the Ursuline Institute community if you'd like to connect with some of her services. So we'll share those at the end. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nikki.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. Gina, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Like I said, prior to us starting to record, if any questions come up throughout this presentation, please ask. I love to communicate and connect and interact with everyone who is here with us live. Chances are if you're thinking of something, someone else is probably thinking it. So no question is silly. If you want to know how something that I'm sharing might apply to you, your business, a future endeavor, or anything like that when it comes to building a brand for a business or just a personal brand around you as a person, that all questions are good questions here. So that being said, throw any questions in the chat box, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and we can talk it out. So my name is Nikki. For all of you who don't know me, I live in South Florida. I've been in the branding space in various capacities over the last 12-ish years, whether building a brand for myself or supporting other. I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs, so serving a lot of other female entrepreneurs as they're building their personal brand and or brands for their product-based or service-based businesses. So I'm excited to dive in today on how to build a binge-worthy brand using your own unique brand strategy. So here are the things that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about what makes a brand binge-worthy and what does binge-worthy even mean. We're going to talk about why people skip this stuff, the 13 things that make up your brand strategy. And then where do these things go besides into a folder to never be looked at again? And then we'll talk about the ROI of a great brand strategy and then a great action step for you to take moving forward. So first of all, let's talk about what a binge-worthy brand is. When I think of a binge-worthy brand, the easiest way for me to explain it, and not that this is like a, Webster's dictionary term, but this is like coined term in the branding space, is this binge worthiness, which is essentially like, think about Netflix is an easy place, right? You find a show that you love and you just want to keep watching it. And if you're like me, not only do I want to keep watching it, I want to start following the actors and actresses and the characters on social media and see what they're doing on the weekend with their family. And like, I just immerse myself into knowing about these characters and their story and wanting to experience them even outside of the show. And so how can we recreate that same, I want to be a part of what they're doing, feeling in a personal brand or in a business? So number one is it's always rooted in authenticity. And number two, it's attracting their dream audience, right? So a binge-worthy brand is always thinking about who are my customers, who are my clients, who are my audience, who are the people who are going to be attracted, connected to, and want to be a part of my story and whatever it is that I'm creating. Number three is binge-worthy brands have a strategy and plan. So they're never really flying by the seat of their pants. Everything that we're going to talk about today are same things that like the directors and the creators of these shows that we love have thought about when they were creating them, right? They had a plan and a strategy. I'll share some other businesses that do a really great job of this that we're all probably familiar with, who also at some point, someone along the way said, hey, we got to talk about these brand strategy pieces, right? If we want people to keep coming back for more, we have to start talking about how to speak their language, how to connect with them, how to craft our voice and make sure we have a solid communication plan. And number four is it always tells a story. There's always a story that is connected to a binge-worthy brand because that's the way that us as consumers, customers, and general audience say, oh yeah, like I feel that I was there once before, or I'm there right now. I'm so connecting with the story because I'm in that moment of struggle, or there's a gap, or there's, I need support in this area. And so there's always a story that it connects our customer or our dream audience to whatever it is that we are doing, being, or creating. So simply put, a binge-worthy brand is one that people can't get enough of. And if it's a really, really good binge-worthy brand, sometimes it's like they don't even really need the book, right? Or they don't even really need the product or need the thing, but they love what you're doing so much, and they love who you are as a person and the way that you're creating an experience and a human connection from them, that they want to support you. They want to be a part of that success. So for example, I just used like a book as an example. It might be that they love and connect with you so much, and maybe they don't need the book, but like Mary, their neighbor who's always talking about XYZ, like she needs it. So great, I'm going to support Gina, and I'm going to buy her book so that I can share it with Mary, my neighbor, and she's going to then get introduced to Gina as well and get to start to experience her. So sometimes we just create such a great story and such a great personal brand that even people who don't necessarily need us at that season of life right now still just want to be a part and be clued in on what's going on in our world. So imagine if the people who were just ready and waiting for the next thing that you created and shared, because they trust that you know what they need even more than they themselves know what they need, right? And so that can look like what I just shared, or you create something and they're like, oh yes, like this person is in my head and they know exactly what I needed to hear today when I logged onto Instagram, or they knew exactly what I needed to see inside of my inbox to make me want to open up this email and create an aha moment for me. So here are some other businesses and brands who do a really great job with this. Target, right? People love Target. They go to Target. I'm sure everyone here has done this, right? You go to Target, your main goal is to get a pair of socks, and you leave with a new living room set. Like we go in there to spend like $15 and we end up spending $300 because Target knows how to grab our attention. They know how to keep us wanting more. They do a great job of predicting where their ideal customer is at in their season of life and what they might be needing, even if it's feeding into some sort of like, guilt-driven purchase that we're making or whatever it is. They just do a really great job of understanding where their client's at. Apple does a great job of this as well, of knowing, okay, what's the next thing that they're going to need? Maybe it's even not the next thing they need, but the next thing that they're going to want. They do a great job of that. Lululemon, I know they do an awesome job just in terms of understanding what where their client is at. And you'll hear me talk about this season of life because when we talk, one of the 13 parts of a brand strategy is understanding your dream client. We're going to talk about these 13 parts of a brand strategy, but how I feel is that the most important thing that you could understand about people that you're trying to attract, whether it's just to be building a personal brand or to be attracting dream customers who are perfect for a product or a service that you're creating, the number one thing that we can know about them is the season of life that they're in. It's not where they're shopping or what their income bracket is or what magazines they read or where they hang out. Those things are important, but they're like subcategories of season of life. Because if someone is a mom, right, and we know, okay, we've categorized someone as a mother, and if there's any mothers here, raise your hands, chime in, right? It's like a mom of a newborn is a drastically different season of life than a mom of a 4-year-old. And the mom of teenagers or an empty nester mom is drastically different than a season of life that a newborn mother is in. So even though we know, okay, mothers, it might be dream clients, there's all these different seasons of life of a mom. So it's so telling when we understand what season of life someone is in, because we learn how to speak their language and we learn to understand what do they need right now. What did they need a year ago? What did they need 5 years ago? What are they going to need when they become empty nesters, right? So we get to kind of touch point on all of these different phases of their story, and we can then make really educated and awesome decisions around how we communicate, what kind of content we create, what kind of services, what kind of products that we create based upon where someone is at right now, where they were a little bit before, and where they're going to be after. And then we're able to capture this broader audience of people who are not quite there yet, but are almost there, and people who have now moved on beyond. Does that make sense? How I kind of just explained that? Okay, great. All right, so all these companies have something in common. Can anyone guess what they have in common? You can throw it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. And it's also okay if no one has any guesses.
I'm going to guess that they're binge-worthy, but that is probably not the right answer. But it just seems like the only thing that I could.
They are binge-worthy. You are right. The reason why they're so binge-worthy is because they've created consistency in the way that they're showing up. And so what creating a brand strategy and walking through the different parts of a brand strategy allows us to do is be consistent in the way that we're showing up. And humans, like, we love consistency. Even if we don't love a certain thing, we like when something is predictable in a certain way, especially when it comes to investing our time or our money. We want to know and feel good about where we're putting our time, where we're spending our time, and where we're putting our dollars. So let's talk about what a brand strategy is. I've talked a lot about this already, right? But there's 13 fundamental components that make up a brand strategy. The most important thing to know is what these do. What is the actual point of creating a brand strategy? Your brand strategy, this is the lens in the way that you create your communication strategy. So this looks like the stuff that you talk about on social media, the content that you create and share, the way that you write emails and the way that you communicate, the way that you handle issues that might arise in your business, the way that you talk about the things that your business and your brand will stand for, the things that you won't tolerate, the way that you handle happy customers and share about happy experiences. All of these things come from the foundation that is created in your brand strategy. So this is how your business, your personal brand is received and perceived. It's what dictates the reputation that gets created, and how you're going to connect and communicate with your audience. So essentially, it creates your company culture, right? So even if you're not creating a full-on product-based business or a service-based business, and you're still just creating a personal brand, that is still a culture that is being created. So the way that you build your teams and essentially how you hire your clients, your industry that you are stepping up and representing, all of this gets dictated by the way that you are communicating and showing up. Because from the outside looking in, this is all consumers have to go off of, right? All we have to go off of is what you're telling us and the way that you're showing up. That looks like when we come onto your website, what do we see? How do we feel? What are we reading? When we show up on your social media, what do we see? What do we feel? What are we reading? What are we experiencing? So you have a responsibility, and I never want responsibility to be mistaken as an opportunity, because it's really not an opportunity. This is a responsibility to do it authentically and purposefully as you are building a brand, no matter what it is, whether it's going to turn into a business, whether it's just going to be a educational platform, a content sharing platform, whatever that looks like. You have a responsibility to do this in a way that not only feels really good for you first and foremost, but if you're doing something authentically and purposefully, chances are it feels really good. But it's important that we do this and we advocate for whatever industry that we're in, to be a beacon within that industry and to be a authentic and purposefully resource for our audience. So why is it that people skip this stuff? And I know that people skip this stuff because I've worked with through all my various programming and products, I've had almost 17,000 women come through my world, whether they purchased a template system or actually were in a group program of mine, or I've worked one-on-one. I see how often people come into creating a business or a brand and they just want to get to the fun stuff. They just want to get to the logo and the colors and the fonts, right? And they just want to get to like the photo shoot or the creating the fun things or the going live. And then what happens is they get sort of stuck. They either plateau or they can't grow a following of engaged clients, right? Or an engaged audience, or they're not having the result that they want. That could look like sales, that could look like email list growth, whatever it is. And a lot of times it's because when we start out, we're usually flying by the seat of our pants until someone tells us that there is more to do than just create our color palette and logo. And a lot of people just simply aren't educated on what branding is and what brand strategy is. So these are the 3 reasons why brand strategy work typically gets neglected. One is you think it's going to be really expensive and you're going to have to hire an agency. And a lot of times when you're getting started in your business, that budget just simply is not there. The other reason is that you think that they're not ready or big enough for a brand strategy yet. So a lot of people look at like the businesses I shared, right? The Lululemon or the Target or the Trader Joe's, and they think, okay, well, these people have a massive bank account, investors, a reputation, a following, all of these things. So of course, right, we can even circle back to then the investment thing. It's like, well, yeah, they have the money to do this kind of work. They've already got the people there. They've got the team. They've got the bank account, whatever it is. But it's important to understand that these businesses all started in the same place. They all started at ground zero. Granted, some of them, yes, get investors from the very beginning or they raise capital, but all of it started with a person that had a purpose or a vision there. The way that these businesses and these brands, and there's millions more of them other than what I just, the ones that I shared, they got bigger because someone along the way said to them, we have to pay attention to this. We have to pay attention to the language that our ideal clients are speaking. We have to pay attention to the season of life that these people are in so that we can stop making bad business decisions and bad branding decisions and start creating stuff that they actually want to consume, to understand, to buy, to digest, whatever it is. In order for us to do that, we have to figure out, where are we going? Who are we creating for? Where are they at right now? How can we connect with them? How can we communicate with them? How can we create content that they care about? The third reason is that you aren't clear or confident in knowing how this is actually going to grow your business and help you, which I kind of just touched on when I was like explaining that whole thing, right? This makes a lot of sense because there's not enough people talking about what we're talking about. A lot of it is just, we got to look good online because people care about how things look. And then we got to just start showing up. But to be able to show up with valuable content and valuable information for people, valuable products that actually mean something to them is so different than someone just creating an Instagram and starting to talk about certain things. And from my experience, it's like 9 times out of 10, they sort of like go through all the stuff in their head and share it. And then they're like a month or 2, if not less, into their business. And they're like, Nikki, like, how do I keep creating stuff? How do I still, what do I talk about? Like, what do I keep talking about? What do I do? And all this gets covered within your brand strategy, because you'll see one of the 13 steps is brand pillars. And in these brand pillars, we tie in who our clients are, where they're at, and our products. And we create a endless list of different types of content that you can talk about and create. So when that blank moment comes up, you're like, oh, let me just go back to my brand strategy. And I can look at, okay, these are my 5 pillars. I'm going to rotate through these 5 Monday through Friday or whatever it is, or month by month. So let's take a look at those 13 pieces. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know I kind of like go through this quickly. I I just get so excited about it. Okay. Okay, good. So here's the 13 parts. So number one, these are the first things that I begin with. Even if I'm working with someone one-on-one or they're moving through like my brand strategy blueprint product, I always talk about these beginning pieces. So your vision, your purpose, your mission, and your difference. So where do you want this thing to go, right? Whatever you're creating, where do you want it to go? Where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years from now with this? What is your intention in creating something? For right now, it could be like, hey, I want to create a personal brand. I want to create an online presence. I maybe eventually want to sell something. I don't quite know, but right now I want to start showing up and I want to start talking about X topics, right? Then we can think about your purpose. So this is the why behind whatever it is that you're creating. So this is the thing that when stuff gets hard and you're exhausted and you can't quite figure out what your next step is, you can come back to this why and kind of have some clarity around, okay, this is the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to give women the tools and resources to be able to create a business that they love and create a life that they love and be able to dictate the income that they make. And so my way of doing that is through branding, right? And so I give them the tools to be able to get started in the branding space. Your mission, this is the what. So exactly what do you do and who do you do it for? So this is the tangible things that you are doing within the work. And then you have your difference. So this is the things that make you and your business or your brand the no-brainer choice, right? So this is like, what types of things have you gone through in your work? We'll talk about your story next, but what have you done that allows you to operate differently than the way someone else? Sometimes that is like your actual products are different. Sometimes it's your process is different, right? The way in which you do things looks different than the way someone else. Just to give you an example, because sometimes I find that this difference thing can be a little weird, is for example, like, I'm going to use a website designer. Website designers are, you would think like, yeah, they're all just like building a website, right? But some ways that people differentiate themselves is, I know there's one woman, for example, who she does like done in a day. So she gets all the information from you, takes a full day, designs your entire website, goes through revisions with you, and like delivers it within 24 hours. Awesome, total different experience, right? That would differentiate her from an agency designer who might take 8 to 10 weeks to finish your website design. So, and then there's another process that could look like a weekend getaway experience where you're going to go and be with 10 other women who are all building their website that weekend, and you guys get to be immersed with each other for 72 hours and jam and network and brainstorm and like leave that weekend with this beautiful brand and website. Same end result, 3 completely different processes. So then we get into your value proposition and your values, your voice, your story, and what I call your how you roll. How you roll is really fun because these are the things that like really humanize your business. So like, I don't drink caffeine, but I think of some people who are like, we're a 3 cups of coffee a day kind of business. And this is something that like someone else might really connect with. Like, yeah, these are my people. Like they drank 3 cups, me too. Right. Or someone like, I'm really into health and wellness. And so for me, it's like, I have my juice in the morning, or I Peloton, or I walk, and sometimes I don't. And some days I go to yoga, or what I meditate, and I'll talk about these things in my, in my, the way that I show up in my content, because it really just creates this human experience. And then like you've got these other ones here too in all the descriptions. By the way, Gina, I can share these slides with you, this document, if then you want to share the actual document with people, so you all can then have all of these slides, if that's helpful.
That would be amazing.
Awesome.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, good. Then we've got your dream clients and your touch points, your pillars and your visuals. So this is where you get into the things that are like exciting to people, right? Your visuals, this is like your logo, your colors, your fonts, all of that stuff. People love to do that stuff. And it's really just, as you can see here, like one of 13 parts. Then you've got your dream clients, which we've talked a lot about, your pillars, which I touched on. Those are all the strategic topics that allow you to consistently engage, create engaging content. And then your touch points, these are all the ways that you're going to connect with people. So this allows you to not have shiny object syndrome and know like, okay, I'm going to focus on building an Instagram following, or I'm going to focus on, I need to get one email out a week or one email a month or whatever it is. And you can stay focused on what are my points of connection. And that's what I'm focused on right now. So most of you, if you are building a personal brand already, or you've started a business or you're thinking about it, you've probably done some of these in some capacity in your head, right? So you think about, where do I want this to go? And you think about, oh, what are the things I'm going to talk about? Or what am I going to create? Or how am I going to connect with people? But then they live in here and they never actualize in the work that you're doing in this world. And so I'm always on a mission to like, okay, how can we get this stuff out of your head and into a document or into a place where you can actually use it, right? So where do these things go besides into a folder in our brain or on our desktop, never to be looked at again? We call this your brand pathways. So these are all the ways that your dream clients, your audience can see themselves fitting in, benefiting from, and connecting to your business and your brand. So each one of these has their own little way of making these know, like, and trust sparks fire off for your dream client. So it's kind of like what I talked about when you walk into Target and you're just like, I'm in the right place. Oh, yeah, I need this pillow. It's going to make me feel a certain way, right? Or like, oh yeah, I'm just going to grab this latte. Like I'm going to feel so good. Like those are all things that we're just like, we know this makes us feel a certain way. And so the same thing can happen in your personal brand as you're growing your audience. Here's an example here. Let's see. So you've got like your vision, right? This is for your internal use, but you can always share where you're headed with your brand or your business through your content. And it's important for you to revisit these quarterly, check in and update them. And as you create offers or new things in your business, or you're brainstorming on like, what am I going to be doing next? You want to make sure that they're in alignment with your vision. A great example of this is like, if someone wants travel freedom and they don't want to be tied down to a certain place or a certain location, then having like in-person client meetings and things like that wouldn't make sense. So don't set your business up for that opportunity. Create a boundary around that. No, okay, there's no reason why you have to wait 5 years from now till your business is operating at XYZ capacity for you to be like, okay, I'm done taking client meetings now, like in-person client meetings now. I'm ready to go travel. Start traveling now. Do your thing now and create this whole virtual online experience that we so easily. That's a very easy example of that. But there's just no reason for you to have to wait to do these things, especially when you're clear on your vision and your goals. Start in small, tiny ways, creating that life that you want to create from day one. We don't have to wait until a certain, follower count or a certain thing in order to start actually doing that. Your difference. This is a good one. Your differentiators should be used in your copy and your sales pages when talking about why this, right? Why us? How am I different in content creation, and utilized when you're creating offers? So kind of like what I talked about before with the 3 different ways of the website design, right? We want to talk about why we're different and why this process and this way works for us and why people love it. And that's what's going to make someone be like, yeah, I you know what? Instead of paying someone $3,000 to design my site, even in a day, I want to go pay $3,000 and go do this weekend getaway and be with other women and be able to like immerse myself into my work for 3 days, distractionless. Like that sounds like an awesome experience, right? So this would be like, that would be a major selling point. All right. So let's talk about the return on investment of great brand strategy. So, as I said earlier, your brand strategy, this is the way that people perceive and receive your business. This is at the heart of your communication strategy and the way that you are going to be connecting with others. So, the way that you create your website and your design and your messaging, the way that advertising creative and copy gets created, the way you build your team, the way you write emails, copy, your company culture, all of this is affected by your brand strategy. So you can see why it's important to take the time and do that work before you even get to a certain point in your business. I always want to drive home on any time I'm doing a presentation or anything like this, that it's truly never too early for you to start, like, even scratch pad writing out these things, right? Because it allows you to just make smarter, more sound decisions in your business. And what that does is it allows you to make a lot less mistakes and a lot of less misses along the way, so that you can experience the success, whatever that looks like for you, faster. So everything is going to be infinitely more impactful and conversion driven when you have things like your voice, your mission, your story, your differentiator, all of those things as the lens in which you're creating stuff for. I kind of just talked about this, so I'm going to skip over it. So the question becomes like, now what? Like, okay, what can I do? Like I said, it's never too early for you to start implementing these things and at least just getting stuff out of your head, even if you don't have a business idea yet, right? But you are thinking, yeah, I want to create something in the future. I want to maybe write a book, or I want to become a public, like I want to write for articles, or I want to create services and, do coaching stuff around a certain, whatever it is for you. It's never too early for you to start kind of diving into these like nitty gritty pieces. So creating a brand that people can't get enough of starts with creating the foundation that is rooted in your beliefs, in your values, and your personality, while keeping a really good pulse on what your dream clients want and need from you. So I created a fun little quiz to find out how binge-worthy your brand is. And so Gina's going to share the quiz on your own time. You can go and take the quiz. You can definitely get in touch with me if you've got any questions at all following this. I also, a lot of what I talked about, we have a product called the Brand Strategy Blueprint, which takes you through all 13 steps, and it prompts you with questions along the way, and full workbook for you to work through. And then there's also a template where you can take everything you've done in the workbook and create a beautiful, like, branded brand strategy kit for you to have for internal usage for your team, et cetera. And we have a 50% off discount code for anyone to use for that product as well, if you decide that's a good fit for you. So that being said, does anyone have any questions about any of this? I feel like we packed in a lot, but you can always reach out to me even outside of here. You can find me on Instagram. You can email me. I'm just Nikki at NikkiArensman.com. I can put my email right here in the chat box as well.